All right, welcome. This is DB Talking Now, DB Talking Birds, DB Talking Philadelphia Eagles. Today we will be live with Patrick J, and we will be going over free agency. We will be going over the draft. We got a lot to get into. There's a lot of news, a lot of guys getting released, a lot of things like that. But first and foremost, I want to go ahead and touch on a couple of Eagles news and things like that. So we're going to start a little bit early. So let me go ahead and get into this. So the Eagles went ahead and restructured left guard Issacc Seumalo. That's good. It saves us about $2.73 million in cap room. So comparatively to what we need to do to clear up space, it is kind of like chump change, but any little bit counts, of course. Details did come out about the Jason Kelce restructuring and the renegotiation as well. So we saved about 2.5 there as well. So right now, as it stands, the Eagles are 26 mil over the cap, and that is in comparison to around the 50 to 55 mil over the cap that they were in about a month ago. So it's quite a big deal. So the Eagles are getting closer and closer to that to the compliance mark, and also to that positive mark where they can start to be a little bit more flexible with free agency. And with that said, there's quite a bit of guys. There's quite a bit of players that have been released to this point, like the Shaquille Griffins of the world from Seattle. He has been released. He will not be returning to the Seattle Seahawks. He's one of those guys that could come in and help out the team. Some guys that we've already talked about, like Cameron Sutton, cornerback from the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's a safety cornerback hybrid. He could come in, help out the team. Safety Malik Hooker, he could come in and help out the team. And I also like to look at guys like Bud Dupree. Now, obviously, he did get hurt towards the end of the season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he's one of those guys where if you can get him on a cheap deal. Now, right now, they have him ranked as the number 3 free agent on the list out of 101 free agents. But if you can get him on a cheap deal, I mean, take a shot, right? But, we're just going to have to see what the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be able to do. And obviously, one of those things is Kenny Golladay. One of those guys is Kenny Golladay, wide receiver Kenny Golladay from the Detroit Lions. As I've talked about in previous streams, was not tagged, will not be returning to the Detroit Lions. It seems like everybody wants to go out and get Kenny Golladay. I have friends of mine who are Washington football team fans who believe that they're a quarterback away and a second wide receiver option away for the unknown quarterback that will be taking the starting role in Washington there, from competing on a continuous basis. And looking into that might be accurate. They shit the bed when it came to when it came to Dwayne Haskins, and their defense is primed to be very good for a very long time. It is honestly, you could make the argument, a very, very strong argument, that it was their defense that took them to the playoffs and won that division last year. Now, honestly, it was a cupcake division last year, but that defense is no joke. It is definitely one of the best defensive lines in the NFL, and should be for years to come. So I do believe that. I do believe that there is some substantial evidence that will point to, Washington football team fans being right about that. And so where it's just a quarterback and another wide receiver option away, because they have Logan Thomas at tight end. They have the young running back. They got the defensive line. So it's things of that nature. Another thing that I want to get into regarding the NFC East, just while we're at it. So New York Giants manager, GM David Gettleman. And I found this really interesting. Saquon Barkley is going into that final year where they're going to have to make a decision on his 5th-year option. Because of the injury, David Gettleman came out and said, well, it's going to be a tough decision to make because of the injury. Look, and there was a great article written about it, and I believe it was someone from NFL.com. You either believe that the franchise should move forward with a player or not. Now, this is not, this is not Nelson Aguilar we're talking about. This is not Jalen Reagor we're talking about. This is not Daniel Jones we're talking about. This is Saquon Barkley. He is a once-in-a-generational type of running back who just happened to get hurt last year. Anybody, regardless of the injury, if he were to hit the open market, teams would be all over him like white on rice, like a bee on honey, like me and my Reese's peanut butter, me and my keto Reese's peanut butter cups. Thank you, Costco. It does not matter what injury he had the year prior. Saquon Barkley is a stud and is going to continue to be a stud for years and years to come when he comes back from injury. But hey, I mean, I'm not trying to give the New York Giants any advice whatsoever. If they want to make the biggest mistake one of the biggest mistakes in that franchise history, be my guest. Go ahead and be my guest. But it's things like this, guys, that keep the Philadelphia Eagles in talks to be able to compete for the division. But right now, on paper, it looks like with the resigning of Dak Prescott, 4 years, $160 million deal with $120 million of it guaranteed, Dallas is primed to run away with the division this year. Outside of the possibility that Washington makes a strong, makes a strong case to be a good competitor moving forward. And look at that. Patrick J just joined in. Let's go ahead and bring Patrick J in. Patrick J, my man, how's it going, dude? I got started without you, but how you doing today, man? Happy Wednesday.
Hey, man. How you been?
I'm good. I've been good. How was vacation?
Dude, what much needed. It was good. Dude, sorry, man. Like my work call got longer, so.
Oh, you're good. So yeah, obviously, as you know, like we got a shit ton to talk about today, like free agency, and I was just touching on how many players have been released over the last few days, and kind of like how many crazy names are getting released as well, especially with like the Saints and them trying to create cap room to keep
Sanders, yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders is one. The fucking Lions not finding a way to tag Kenny Galladay is another surprising move. But,
yeah, there was a lot. I mean, I think just today, when I was kind of briefing over on my lunch, I think I saw John Brown got released. Quentin Jefferson also got released for the Bills. Riley Reef, I think, with the Vikings, right? Kyle Rudolph got released a couple weeks ago.
Kyle Rudolph, yeah.
Kevin Zeitler with the Giants. I mean, there's a lot of big name guys coming out. Like it's gonna be, and like I said, like I think we talked about it a little bit before, but like the salary cap went down to $182 million as opposed to $198 last year, and there's a lot of these guys out. It's a bad year to be a free agent, but at the same time, it's also exciting because the teams know there's a lot more supply of players than the money that's out there, so they're gonna be able to sign a lot of these superstar guys for, I don't want to say cheap, but cheaper than what they would get normally,
Right, exactly. And I just want to jump ship real quick, and just like to the Seahawks, and just for them, like, I mean, they're projected to have like 20 mil in cap space, but like they have the potential of losing guys like, wide receiver Philip Dorsett and running back Chris Carson, and like they have the retirement of Mike Potty, and like, so they have like moves to make. And then just the interesting thing, just the fucking cherry on top of this whole thing is, of course, none other than Mr. Russell Wilson himself wanting to be fucking traded, it seems like. And I don't think you and I have talked about that. I think you've been gone since that all started. So you and I haven't really like dived deep into that one. And it seems like it's starting to like catch fire quite a bit.
It's gonna happen, dude. Like I don't know. There is a rift between Russell and Seahawks for the last couple of years, and you could totally see that just in like small interactions and everything. And then I don't know if you saw yesterday, Russell Wilson posted a picture of he was in Las Vegas and he tagged the Raiders and everything on it too. And Raiders are one of his preferred destination. So
I didn't see that. I do know. Yeah, I do know that he said that he's willing to waive his no trade clause for the Bears, the Raiders, the Saints, and I believe that there was one. Dallas.
But that one's gone. So
yeah, of course. Which is another thing that we got to talk about. It seems like on paper now, Dallas is primed to run away with the NFC East. But that's a whole and actually just before you jumped on, I was just talking about that is Dallas seems primed to run away with the NFC East. Really, their only competition that I could see like treading like slight water behind them would probably be Washington because of the potential of the defense, and whatever they decide to do with quarterback or adding another weapon. The opposite side of Terry McLaurin and shit like that.
Right.
But 4 years, $160 million, 120 mil signing bonus. What do you think about that for Dak? Do you think he deserves it?
It's a weird topic to talk about the Cowboys quarterback situation here with the primarily Eagles podcast that you got going on, but yeah, man. He deserves it. Dak Prescott definitely deserves it. I mean, you saw what happened to the Cowboys when he went down. They just weren't the same, even with all those weapons around them. Like the Cowboys go through Dak Prescott, and then he's one of those. I don't want to say he's a premier quarterback, but he's definitely in the second tier. And then he is a Cowboys quarterback of the future, and he is a Cowboys quarterback of the present. And he definitely deserved that. So, I mean, that contract definitely sets like parameters for like the other guys that's coming up. I mean, I think me and my other buddy were talking about Kyler Murray. I mean, that's pretty much base of what his contract extension is going to look like in a couple of years too. And then hopefully Jalen Hurts himself will earn that too in the next couple of years too. So,
yeah, no, actually what I was going to say is I completely agree with you. I did a stream the other day and I was talking about Dak getting that contract and I even think I did it like a month and a half ago or something like that, where I believe that Dak does deserve 40 mil. Dak deserved to get what he asked for. The reason for that being is over the last 3-4 years with him on the field, he has guided that offense into having the opportunity to be a top 5 offense every single year. And we saw it in the first 4 weeks of the season this season. He took a gamble on himself. And it was a tragedy. It was a tragedy what happened because he took a gamble on himself and then he went down. But like he was on pace for what, dude? Almost like 6,000 yards within that first 4 weeks of the season. I mean, yeah, obviously it would have.
He was still a leading passer in week 6 or something. He hasn't played like 2 weeks. Yeah, he was on an insane pace, like I said.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it probably would have slowed down a little bit, but like if that defense had shown up in that first like 4 weeks, the Cowboys would have been 4-0. Like the Cowboys would have been 4-0 from September to October, and like then they would have been able to deal with it after that after that point. But like and we would have been able to see how the division played out after that. But like he's been deserving of that money well before Carson got it. And like I understand, yes, it is an Eagles podcast. I am an Eagles fan. I am from Philadelphia, but like I have nothing against Dak Prescott. I have everything in the world against the Cowboys. I have nothing against Dak Prescott. But yeah, no, I'm happy for Dak. And I think one of the big things that's been the topic of conversation from the people that I've been talking to is like, watch Dak get hurt again. I'm just like, well, pump the brake, guy. Pump the brakes, guys. Let's have a bit of like stability, please. Yeah, because like I don't want that.
No, you never want to see a guy get hurt. And
yeah.
I mean, that's not. I mean, the best. Even if you hate the team, I mean, I'm sure you agree with me completely. It's like you want to see all of your opponents at full strength and really go against each other. You know what I mean? Like, so you should never wish upon anyone to get hurt per se. And yeah, I believe Dak Prescott's going to earn every single penny of that. Cowboys have a really good offensive core around them. So, yeah, I mean, they got some defense to work on, but I'm excited for what they got going.
Yeah. Yeah, no, me too. I I know that sounds weird, but like I mean, you and I've had many conversations about this topic before, but like one of the things that really gets me excited is watching players progress and just get better. And I think obviously there's players from my team that I'm excited about that happening. It's funny because like I was listening to a podcast that I don't know if you remember Eagles wide receiver Jason Avant.
Yes.
Yeah. So like he was, back in the day, like they didn't at the 40, like it was okay to run a 4.6, but nowadays it's like difficult to like nowadays, like you got to run like a 4.4 or somewhere along those lines, or you're just not even going to be looked at. But like
nowadays,
the one thing,
5.46 is considered like medium to slow speed now, which is insane,
Yeah, and like the one thing about Jason was like he got so good at like his technique and his route running and like and shit like that, where it's like that's kind of where I want to see. That's kind of how I want to see like these young wide receivers on my team do it. And like he is a consultant for the team. He's like a I don't want to say hush consultant, but he's like he shows up to the practices or and shit like that and works with the wide receivers coach. But I think it's just one of those things where it's cool to watch players progress over time on little shit like that, because it's that little shit like that ends up paying off with bigger rewards and on the long term, in my opinion. Do you agree?
Definitely. I mean, not every player is born with all the talent in the world, I mean, so like the guys that put in their work to make up for their shortcoming, I mean, like that's all it takes. I mean, these guys are born with talent. Everyone in the league is born with talent, and they're there for their reasons. It's just the amount of work that they put in that differentiates all these superstar guys from the guys that are not. I mean, I think you were talking about it for different reasons, but Vontae's perfect. For example, he was born with this God-given physicality and talent in the world, but I mean, his knucklehead movements and his inability to stay on field for different reasons. I mean, like, so sometimes like talents go to waste. I mean, so the guys that are able to put in those works, I mean, you gotta give kudos to them. And then I mean, those are the guys that I root for each year,
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of one specifically. And I guess that's kind of where I was going with that, is like I'm trying to think of one specifically that you and I can probably like a link to that just kind of started off. I mean, I guess yeah, that kind of started off like bottom of the barrel, bottom of the barrel, last bit of water. No, and then just kind of just worked his ass off, and then
where are you going?
Huh?
What'd you say?
I said I'm trying to think of one of those guys where I can link it to, and for some reason I can't think of one off the top of my head right now. I mean, I would say Tom, but Tom only really has the 6th round pick status to his name.
Like you're talking about the guys that was like not as much heralded when they were coming out, and then they turned out good. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like Tom is a good example of it, though. I mean, he was a guy that was overlooked, and then he definitely put in all this. I mean, look what he's able to do at that age. I mean, that's impossible with the work that he puts in. And then for a guy that's so accomplished, probably, I mean, dare I say, like probably the most accomplished quarterback in the history of NFL is still putting in the work to be able to do what he's been doing. I mean,
that's true.
Yeah, and then I mean that's got to be commended for it,
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely. And actually, if you just think about and just talking about Tom, just thinking about the wide receivers that have been surrounded or that have been surrounding him too, like the Wes Welkers of the world. Wes Welker was like what, undrafted, or was he a seventh round pick? That guy, that dude had to work on his technique. Now, obviously, that was
Right.
probably due to the advice given by Tom, but
Right.
still. But let's talk on some of these fucking free agents, dude, because we got a lot of them. And you know which one that I was really surprised to see when I went through this list? I know that he did suffer an injury towards the end of the season, and there's a few, but he is ranked number 3 by NFL Network, and that would be Mr. Edge Rusher Bud Dupree.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about this one because there's obviously there's no bias, but there's needs for my team, but I want you to talk about it a little bit. I think really the only thing that's keeping this guy from being a high commodity is just the fact that he got injured towards the end of this season. But I think that he could probably still command a lot of money on the free agent market. And then what do you think he could probably bring to a team?
Like you said, the main thing with Bud Dupree, he's got everything that you want in an edge rusher, but that's the thing that you just talked about, the torn ACL, especially in the late season, as an edge rusher, that's detrimental to his value. And then, it's saying something about his talent and the production that he's had. Last year before he got hurt, he had 8 sacks or something like that. He was on par with what he normally does, and he's one of the top premier edge rushers, especially on the Steelers defense. And that's probably the reason why, because of his history as overperforming a great linebacker to be ranked that high, even with his injury history. I'm totally on board with you. He's not going to be the same guy. He got hurt late season, so it's going to take. He's not going to be ready at the start of the season. That's going to hurt his value. So, but I think a team is going to sign him to maybe a 2-year, 3-year deal with a lower base salary and then higher base salary with higher bonuses for his performances. And then as long as he can get back to as long as his health gets back to where he was, I don't think his production is going to drop off, because I think he's only 28, which is, for a lot of NFL players, that's entering his prime age at that point.
Yeah, no, of course. And yeah, no, he's one of those players that really made that defense that kind of really just adds that extra layer of ferociousness to that defense. Or at least I remember, anytime highlights of that Steelers defense pop up, it's always over the last few years, it's been Bud Dupree. And right. So I remember him coming out of college and being excited about him as a prospect. Obviously, don't want to be that person that's still referencing the draft profile from 5 years ago, but but he's definitely lived up to it. That's the point, though.
He's going to command a lot of money, like you said. So, if you're specifically talking for the Eagles, I don't know if you already talked. I'm sure you talked about a lot about the cap spaces and everything. It's, I command them to getting down to 28. I think, right, a little over 28.
26. Yeah, 26.
Yeah, they got that. I'm looking at their cap, and I don't know where to start. I don't know how they're going to bring it down. To sign.
Well, we can just let's just talk about it real quick. Just because we have so much, we have a lot to get into. Okay, so this is it. So the Darius Slay thing helped out a ton. That was not a forecasted move. That was not a forecasted move. What was a forecasted move is they need to renegotiate Fletcher Cox. They need to renegotiate Lane Johnson. They need to renegotiate Brandon Brooks. Lane Johnson, that those talks have already started. They could cut or they could trade Derek Barnett, and that saves them 10 mil. They could
Derek Barnett has the biggest cap, right? Yeah, 10 mil. I think, and then you got to do something with Zach Gertz at this point. I mean, he's holding up almost $5 million for you guys too. So,
well, he's gonna get traded. He's gonna get traded. But again, that causes an interesting thing, right? Because that money's not gonna be seen until the new league year starts. So they'll still have to get within compliance before then. But that's why they got to do all these renegotiations and shit like that, which is why it's important. It's like, because there's starting to be rumors where it's like, okay, they're interested in trade. They're listening to offers for Brandon Brooks, which is what makes me want to jump back to Seattle real quick. But that's fine. We'll see if that happens. If they extend Brandon Brooks 2 years, dude, like it saves them a ton. If they extend Fletcher Cox 2 years, it saves them like 10 or 11 mil. There's ways to get down to it. They've already started talks with Lane Johnson. Like these are like, we're talking about like 7 to 10 mil per player if they extend these guys 2 to 3 years. I've already, I've looked. There was 5 guys when I talked about it like 2 weeks ago, and Darius Slay was not within those 5, but it would have saved them 40 mil had they gotten these 5 guys done, and just the Darius Slay thing helped out a huge amount. They still got to release Alshon Jeffrey. We have to remember that. So there's still moves to be made. So I think they can do it.
Right.
And if Howie Roseman is good at anything, it's this. He always finds a way. We've been in cap hell for the last 3 years, and he's found a way. So I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, one thing I totally agree with you. One thing that only thing that I'm gonna like correct is Alshon Jeffrey portion of it. He's gonna get cut after June 1st, which is because right now, if you were to cut him, you're not saving any money. If you cut him after June 1st, then you would be saving $2 million. So like Eagles are unfortunately stuck with him until then, which by that point, a lot of the free agency would already be done. So I mean, I think it's safe to say to get his name off of it for now. But I get you. Like it would take a lot of creativity, and then I'm sure they have plans in place. I'm sure they have plans to incentivize all these guys to take the restructuring or whatnot. And I'm sure these guys all want to win. And then, I'm sure they know about their cap situation. So, and
Fletch. So Fletch, Lane, and Brandon Brooks and Derek Barnett. I think Derek Barnett's going to be a goner, to be completely honest with you. And Fletch and Lane are big ones. And then now the fact that Brandon Brooks is on the trade block, and that's been officially reported, that brings them into a positive cap mark right there with those 3 players or 4 players.
Right.
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, it depends on how the cards play out. I did want to get your opinion. I did want to get your opinion on this. As far as the Eagles are concerned, Jeffrey Lurie came out and demanded pretty much that Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter this year. I know that you and I have already talked about it, but we kind of know that Howie Roseman did want to go ahead and bring in competition, but Jeffrey Lurie came out and said that he didn't want that. What's your take on an owner getting involved like that?
Dude, no. I'm never owners. Here's the thing. Owners should always take a step back and let the guys that they hired and are paying millions of dollars to run their team, who is trained and are professionals, they should let them do it. So I'm never a big for some owners getting involved. I mean, it's always going to create rifts within front office, rifts within players and the organization itself. So I don't necessarily agree with him stepping in. As far as his like demand per se, I mean, like I agree that to a point that I think Jalen Hurts should be given every chance to be the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, he's shown that he had the talent and the skill sets to do so. And then, like I said, just having, and that was with like mostly Carson Wentz drawn up playbook for him. So, I mean, having playbook designed for his skill set's going to really help him out, and hopefully the Eagles can really add some weapons for him, whether it's through the draft or the free agency or the trade. But I mean, at the same time, though, it's competition drives players. I mean, these guys are competitors, and then Jalen Hurts is 22. You can't. I know he's I know he's a hard nose, hard worker, but you don't want to just hand over the keys to a young guy like that, especially like someone like Jalen Hurts, who wasn't like highly regarded coming in as much as all these number one picks and stuff like that. I mean, those guys, you invest a lot of capitals in it, so you expect them to do that. But like I said, everything I've seen from Jalen Hurts, I've read that he's a hard worker, he's a hard nosed, really driven player. But like I agree with you. It's you put it well. It's scary to just hand it over and just be like, "Oh, here's your show." I think you should bring in a competition, not with your 6th overall draft pick, but you should be able to bring some kind of player that can compete with him to be a starter. I mean, so yes and no. I disagree with the owner stepping in, like you said, and then I think the competitions only help anybody. I mean, like even guys like Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger are like known for saying that they want competition, and even in practice, because that's what makes them better, and that's what shows on the game days too. So I mean, I hope the Eagles bring somebody in to compete with him. Maybe.
Well, yeah, they probably will. Look, I mean, he made the right decision. It's just the way that he went about it was the wrong way.
Right.
And he shouldn't have done it. Yeah, no. Jalen Hurts would welcome it. That's the thing, is Jalen Hurts has been doing and saying all the right things, and he would do and say all the right things in that regard if somebody were to be brought in. I mean, like, as far as we knew, like, he knew that Carson, he thought that Carson was still going to be here, and he was preparing himself for Carson to still be here. I think that there's just, I mean, I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything to say on them. They just have to let it play. They have to let it play out. That's the thing. Is Jalen Hurts just needs to continue to be Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is young, and they need to put him in the right. They need to put him in the right position to succeed, and give him and give him the 1 year to the best of his ability. Like, let him make the most of that 1 year. If you're going to give him the shot for 1 year, then give him all the tools he can have to make the most of that 1 year. So, like, if you're going to tell us that you're going to go ahead and get playmakers, then go get playmakers. But we've heard it before. So at this point, it's just words. You have to go out and actually fucking do it. That's the point. But, let's go ahead and go ahead and move on, because there's one guy out of Temple, that is going to hit the free agent market. I know you know who I'm talking about. Hassan Reddick. Is it worth the hype to take a flyer for any team in the NFL? I know that half of his sacks came from the one game against the lowly Giants offensive line. What do you think?
I'm gonna go back and use like the same analogy that you've used before, and it's stuff that we've talked about for the past like 5-10 minutes. Hassan Reddick is one of those guys that's gonna put his hard work in. He's a bona fide hard worker, really good guy that came into this league from smaller school from Temple, that got drafted a little bit higher than what he was expected to, and then he didn't pan out. So the Cardinals even went out of their way to decline his 5th-year option, which is the reason why he's a free agent. And then it's not a big middle finger to him. I mean, they replaced him with a guy like J.J. Watt, which is understandable. But I mean, Hassan Reddick wanted to come back. He made it clear that he wanted to come back, but then the Cardinals went out and got J.J. Watts. I mean, I'm sure he had chip on his shoulder. He had chip on his shoulder when his option got declined, and then he put out the season that he did. And then that wouldn't have been possible if Chandler Jones didn't get hurt too. So he took his opportunity, worked his butt off, and waited for his opportunity and chances without pouting. Good character guy. I think he's going to go out there and be a consistent 10-sack guy. He just has to be put in the right situation, though. The reason that the Cardinals moved him out of his natural position per se of outside linebacker was his size to begin with. He's a smaller guy. he's going to be a really high motor, high sack guy in a 3-4 defense. 4-3 is where he's going to struggle because, I mean, he with his hand on the grass, I mean, he's a smaller guy, like I said. So if he's put in the right situation, he's going to be able to replicate his success. It's just a matter of, what kind of defense and the schemes that he gets put into. But he's definitely a double-digit sack guy given like the right situation. He's going to put his work for it. So, and he's young, 26, dude. That's it.
Yeah, no, I know. Speaking of the free agents, kind of all of them are a lot younger than I guess my brain remembered them to be. Even Trent Williams. Like I think of Trent Williams, and I think like Trent Williams is like 35.
Forever, yeah.
But he's not. He's right. Only 33.
I mean, like the one thing that I'm excited about is just this wide receiver class, dude. I mean, they're all in their like mid to late 20s. Like it's insane the amount of talent that's out there. Like you mentioned Galladay, Will Fuller's a free agent, Curtis Samuel's a free agent, Juju Smith is a free agent. And it just, the list goes on. And even tight ends like Hunter Henry, I think he's 26, dude. So these guys they're entering their prime. So whichever team sign them, they're going to get them at their highest level of talent. I mean, their peak, I believe, so if the Eagles sign Hassan Reddick per se, or if like the whoever signs Hunter Henry, I think Hunter Henry's only going to get better from now on. So.
Oh, agreed. No, yeah, I completely agree. And speaking of tight ends, another one of those that I think that, Sean McVay just wasn't able to get the most out of him, and still has a ton of potential is tight end Gerald Everett. I think that wherever he goes, if he lands in the right spot, right. With a coach who can utilize his versatility a bit better, he'll still be able to have a long career.
Right.
But like, yeah, no, it's crazy. These guys towards the top, they're 26, 28, 27. Another edge rusher, Trey Hendrickson from the Saints, who had a great season this season. If I'm not mistaken, he was a huge part in making sure that Saints defense was ranked number 1 for pretty much most of the season, right? And then finally towards the end, they trailed off to just number 2, I guess.
Yeah, right.
But like you got Shaq Barrett, who's going to be a free agent. Carl Lawson, who's 26, he's another edge rusher. The unfortunate thing with wide receiver Kenny Galladay, and this is, for any Eagles fans or anybody really who are like getting really excited about Kenny Galladay, is look, injuries when it comes to a wide receiver, like it's caused to pause, right, Patrick? Like I mean, it's not like a defensive lineman or like a quarterback. I mean, obviously that's not a really good comparison, but these guys got to make cuts, and they got to do them all of a sudden and on a dime, right? To get separation from their defenders. They're constantly having guys jam them at the line of scrimmage, which puts pressure on your fucking joints. Like this dude, he had an injury marred 2020 season, and so it's just one of those things where he might not be as expensive as he's supposed to be. He's still going to be expensive, but like,
yep.
Are you going to get the Kenny Galladay from 2019 is the thing.
I mean, that's what you wish for. I mean, and then that's where it goes back to the whole, with like a regular off season, he did come back and play that 5 games, and he was on pace for another 1,000-yard season, but there was flashes of him being his old self, but he definitely was a little bit more cautious about not injuring himself. So, I mean, there was that mental block that he had to come over, but he's young though. I mean, so that's the thing. He's young. So if we're talking about a receiver that's like entering their 30s, I mean, that's a little bit different story, but he's turning 27. I mean, I think he's turning 28 actually. He's young. So, I mean, I think he'll be able to get back to his old self. But like you said, it's something that you always have to be cautious about. But at the same time, Kenny Galladay is going to be the top receiver available. Obviously, if Allen Robinson re-signs with the Bears, he is going to be that top receiver available. So if I were the Eagles, I mean, like, like I said, Howie Roseman can definitely be creative about it, but I think you're looking at more of a secondary guys as a realistic target, rather than like the guys that it's going to get big money, like you said. So as far as like the receivers are concerned, I mean, I think you can get a lot of good value out there.
Yeah.
Will Fuller was a big one, I think. I'd be excited if I was any team getting Will Fuller. Marvin Jones from the Lions is going to be a little bit cheaper than a lot of the guys. Curtis Samuel, he showed a lot of potential in Matt Rule's offense. He topped 1,000 yards from scrimmage too, I believe. And then if he's a speedy guy, he's got good hands. So I mean, he's not going to be as expensive as the other guys too. And then if you're okay going with like a smaller receiver, I mean, T.Y. Hilton is also going to be a little bit cheaper because he didn't put out a good season last season. I mean, you got a lot of options. I mean, John Brown just got released too. So I mean, there's definitely a lot of options out there.
Yeah. I mean, he excited me when he was with Arizona, but I know he's done some good things with Buffalo too. But what I was gonna say, is no, I mean, obviously, if King, welcome, my man. Happy Wednesday, dude. Happy Wednesday. Nate Gary's out of here. Awesome. Say hi to Patrick J, because Patrick J is finally back from vacation, for fuck's sake.
How you doing, my man?
Nate Gary is out of here. Well, that's good news. No, what I was gonna say, I mean, I wasn't necessarily referring to the Eagles, but like if it were me, Patrick, I would fucking address free agency and I would make it all about defense. I really would. And then I would make the draft all about I would make a few exceptions, and this is if I could pull it off. I don't know what their cap situation is going to look like, and I have been saying this for weeks because I read the report that Belichick was replacing Joe Thuney with the other dude. I would try and make a run at offensive guard Joe Thuney, who's only 28.
Expensive.
Yeah,
he's gonna be expensive.
He's gonna be expensive. I know. And then center for the Chiefs is the starting center for Patty Mahomes is going to be a free agent. Yeah. These are options. I'm not saying all of these players, but mainly the biggest exception I would make for offense in free agency is going to be Juju. That's about it. And other than that, I would look at defense like linebacker Matt Milano. I really like cornerback safety hybrid Cameron Sutton, who's going to be a free agent from Pittsburgh. I like him. A lot of my guys are kind of like, they're kind of like in betweeners, like Malik Hooker, who's coming off of a fucking injury. But obviously you and I both know that Malik Hooker was touted as the top safety coming out of college. So there's a lot of I think
he's I think he'll be a good look. He's a good buy low free agent. He's only 25. He's had some good production, obviously not to his level what we expected out of him, but I mean he did suffer that Achilles injuries and everything like that. So I mean he did have some issues there, but he I think he's a good look. I think he worked with Jonathan Gannon too, right? Because he was with the Colts.
Both Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah. So he has a history there, so I think he's a good look. I mean, he's one of those guys that you can definitely get for cheap, and then can easily turn into he has the All-Pro talent. So, I mean, that's a good name that you brought up. I think he's definitely someone that I'd look at.
Yeah, and he's honestly he's at the top of my board as far as he has been for the last 2 months or so, as far as free agency targets are concerned, because I loved him coming out of college. Unfortunately, it comes on the heels of a Achilles injury, but 25 having an Achilles injury is not that bad. So obviously it's not that great, but it's not like 32 and having an Achilles injury.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But
no, I agree though. There are some names that I'm interested in for you guys? I mean, like, um, I I I have to bring up some former Cardinals, like Devondre Campbell, inside linebacker that played with the Cardinals last season. I mean, he was just the way he was with the Falcons. He's a great tackler. He played alongside Jordan Hicks, one-time great Eagle. So he's only 28 too. He's only 28 too. He's eager to prove himself. I mean, he probably doesn't like jumping around from team to team. So he's another good look, I think. Tavon Wilson, another safety, I think will be a good look for you guys. And then definitely some cornerbacks out there. I mean, you're looking at more of a secondary cornerbacks rather than the most expensive guys that are out there. But like Mackenzie Alexander, Xavier Rhodes, TJ Carey, those guys that I'll look at as far as like different cornerback options are concerned. And even the guys like Sidney Jones, I think, because he was cut by you guys, right? Before Jaguars picked him up.
Yeah, he was because Schwartz didn't know how to use his secondary.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the numbers that he put up for the Jaguars. I mean, like since he got cut by Eagles, he went out there. I mean, he did have some injury concerns, but he did go out there and really outperformed that. What he was playing to that point. He kind of showed the reasons why you guys took him with a second round pick back in the 2017. So he's definitely a familiar face. I think would be worth a look back in a new defensive scheme, and then. Quarterback. I'm going to go back to the quarterback option, like Marcus Mariota. I heard you talk about it in the other podcast again. Would be a good option. I'm sure Alex Smith is going to go somewhere else, but I mean, what better mentor to have than Alex Smith, for Jalen Hurts. And if you want some guys that probably have some legs in still, I mean, you can get like Tyrod Taylor or Jacoby Brissett's of the world, I mean, those guys can come in and compete. So, I mean, you got some options out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. And honestly, I did a stream the other day about Alex Smith, and I feel like Alex Smith is one of those guys who just still has, and this is no shot at Alex Smith, but I just feel like he still believes that he can be a substantial starter in this league, and maybe he can. But I just think it clouds his judgment a little bit. I think that he is going to try and go to a team where he has a substantial shot at overtaking the starting position. So I don't see him coming to Philadelphia or any place like that. Because he's always been the game manager, dude. He's been the above average game manager, but he's always been, the game manager. He's not the dude who's gonna wow you. But the one thing I wanted to touch on with you, a couple players in this draft, Greg Newsome ran a fucking 4.3 at his pro day, and Rashawn Slater getting a lot of love, especially from Daniel Jeremiah. Both players are out of was it Northwestern, right? I think it's Northwestern.
Yes.
Both did a phenomenal job at their pro day. Yep. And according to Daniel Jeremiah, Rashawn Slater is right up there with
top 10.
Yeah. Penny Sewell, and his game tape is even better according to Daniel Jeremiah. All right, so this is a two-part question. So first and foremost, is Greg Newsome, did he solidify his spot as being the number 3 cornerback taken on in this draft? Is he butting the trend into maybe possibly being the second cornerback taken off this spot? And so is he kicking the tires on J.C. Horn, or is he kicking the tires on either Patrick Surtain or Caleb Farley or both?
No, in my opinion, the Caleb Farley and Patrick Surtain are bona fide top 2 guys, and then they are quite a bit distance away from even the third guy. And spoiler alert, I don't even have him as a third guy. J.C. Horn, I still have him as a third guy. It's just different. Those 2 guys are just built differently. Their tapes are different. They come from bigger schools, and they've had a proven success. So, I mean, I think it's hard to go against Farley and Surtain, so I definitely put him up there with the top 2. J.C. Horn is a little bit different. He's a bigger physical guy that also comes with speed and instinct. So it's hard for guys like Newsome to go up against him, but that doesn't mean anything different and to knock against Newsome. I think he's for sure the number 4 guy. So he's tall, he's really agile. He definitely did himself good by running that, having an amazing pro day. But I think he's one guy that you can expect to find in the second round, but he could go in the late first round. So I mean, if I were the Eagles, I'm just using the Eagles as an example. If Eagles went like a wide receiver route or like, Kyle Pitts or someone else at 6, and they still have a need at cornerback, and someone like Greg Newsome dropped to them in the second round, I mean, you go jump in the streets because this is a first round talent. But it is a fairly deep draft here this year, and then the top 2 guys are, I think, in a class of their own, and I think Newsome is a 4th guy, but he definitely made a big jump on the board with his pro day, and then I have no doubt that he has the ability to catch C. Horn as a 3rd best guy before a draft starts. But right at the moment, I think I still have Newsome at 4th.
Well, yeah, no, and I was just gonna say, it's incredibly deep, and I think that these cornerbacks are continuing to, because it's not just him. It's not just him who performed well. We just read, I think it was a week and a half ago, Eric Stokes did a phenomenal job at his pro day as well. And obviously, like you and I talked about, like there's Sean Wade, there's Asante Samuel Jr., there's a ton of guys. But my board has changed a little bit. Like I want him, like I'm hoping that like Bateman or Kadarius Toney are going to be there at 37. And so my board's changed a little bit.
My board's changed too. And then here's the thing with my board. I mean, I'm just going to go in my top 10 because I mess around with this like every week, every time I get to read new stuff, watch new tapes and stuff like that. I mean, I'm only going to go top 10. I didn't have, speaking of Northwestern, I didn't have Rashawn Slater up in top 10, but I definitely moved him up there. His tape's insane, dude. Like you said, I'll be honest with you. I never watched his tape until this time. He's insane, but I don't think his future is as a tackle. His arm is a little bit short, so I think his future is going to be in the inside. I think he's going to move into a guard, but I mean, he's going to be a Pro Bowl guard. I have no doubt about it. Another difference with this is I did bring Micah Parsons out of top 10 just because of all the other etc. issues and stuff that I've been reading up about. But big thing for me is Jalen Waddle, I think, is a better receiver at this point than Devante Smith from Alabama. So I think there's a big chance that Jalen Waddle is going to go second receiver right after Jamar Chase, and then leaving for a chance that Devante Smith could drop to the middle of the draft. But that's the only difference that I have. And then I think before I left, I think we talked about like how many quarterbacks can be taken at top 10. I mean, dude, I more and more I think about it, I see 5 quarterbacks going top 10, dude. No doubt about it. 5.
You're insane.
No, dude. Someone's gonna move up and go get Trey Lance. Someone's gonna move up.
Let me do this in pieces. Okay, so Rashawn Slater. Let me start. So I have him ranked above Penei Sewell now.
Okay. I don't.
Mainly because of game tape and he can play all 5 positions. He's done it. He's played all 5 positions. It is neck and neck. Both are going to be Pro Bowl stalwarts, I feel like. So I have nothing. It's not like Penei Sewell has dropped, in my opinion, but it's like by inches, just by like tiny inches.
Yeah, I think for me the difference is exactly what you said, though. I think the future for Slater is at guard, and then just because Penei Sewell is going to be that tackle, the franchise tackle, and tackles are a little bit more valued. I think that's why I have him a little bit higher. That doesn't mean I take anything away from Slater by any means, but I mean, I agree with you though.
Yeah. And then Micah Parsons. Yeah, I can see that. I see that. I mean, one thing for me is the character issues with the linebacker. There's just too much of that. And I kind of touched on this a few weeks ago, is like, I just don't want that happening and it happened too often to guys that I was excited about, and so for me, it's like an instant like turn off. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I think he's been outside of the top. He's been outside of the top 10 for at least a solid like 2.5 weeks, probably since you and I talked about it. You know, I was excited to see Jason Away and Micah Parsons did post good 40s at their pro days though. And so Jason Away is one of those guys that I like a lot. You know, let me bring this up here. I forgot what it was. 4-3. That's JC Horn. Hold on. 4-3-4. Jason Away posted a 4-3-4, and that's by hand. 4-3-8 by laser.
That's insane.
Dude, he's an edge rusher.
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, he is a first-round talent. He's not a first-round talent.
Yeah. No, this is what it's for. I mean, especially in a shortened season like this, with COVID. I mean, you got to make your pro days count, and then like the teams are going to put a lot more stocks into these. So like everything like this that you're talking about, it's going to matter at the end of the day. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that his that's an insane number. I don't doubt that that's helped him with his stock. But yeah, I mean, I was impressed with it, but I don't want to say that he's going to be a first rounder though. I mean, I think I don't know. We'll see. I'm on kind of wait and see mode still. We got like 1 month until the draft still, but I think the top 10 guys are kind of solidifying. I mean, like, correct me if you disagree with me, but I mean, obviously the 3 quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields is probably up there. 2 tackles, Slater and Sewell is probably up there. Caleb Farley, probably. You got to have Jamar Chase and probably at this point, I think Jalen Waddle over Devante Smith, and then our tight end Kyle Pitts. I think we can all agree, you and me and all the experts, I'm sure we can all agree those are the top 10 players available. So
yes. Yeah, I agree with you on Jalen Waddle. I do agree with you on Jalen Waddle. I mean, there's always been. I've talked to you about this. I mean, there's always been something about Devante Smith, and it's nothing against Devante Smith. It's just it does 175 or 169 or whatever it is. It worries me.
He's a small guy. Yeah.
At the NFL level, and he's not Deshaun. Like, he's not Deshaun Jackson. He's not 5'10", 169. He's 6 foot. Like, he's 6 foot, 169.
Yeah.
And like, that's a whole 2-inch difference, bro. And I mean, it scares me. Yeah. Jalen Waddle was the dude at Oklahoma before or Alabama, before he got hurt. So like, it's a different conversation if he doesn't get hurt. You know what I mean? Right. It might be a different conversation. It's like what was it? It wasn't Jerry Jeudy at Alabama last year. Yeah, it was Jerry Jeudy. It's like, does Devante Smith put up the same numbers? You know, if with Jalen Waddle still on the field. I mean, it was one season, wasn't it? Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, yeah. So, yeah, Jalen Waddle. I mean, and that's the thing. His stock is starting to build up, and it's not just in the eyes of, like, you know, Jalen Waddle faithfuls. It's like, no, people are finally coming back down to earth and putting their feet on the ground and getting back in their non-slip comfy shoes and fucking like, Jalen Waddle. I'm wearing mine right now, bro. Walmart, $20. And they're nice and stylish and black and match with everything. So dumb. It doesn't look like I'm about to go play basketball with the grandmas down the street, which I would love to do. Nothing against that. But yeah, no, I would say, I would say Trevor Lawrence. I would say Zach. Yeah, I would say definitely say Zach Wilson. I would say Penny Sewell, Rashawn Slater, Jamar Chase. And I'm not going in order here. And I'm hesitant on Justin Fields in the top 10. I really am. But let me hold on a second.
I don't think he's a top 10 player per se. He's gonna go top 10.
Caleb Farley and Patrick Surtain, yes.
Yeah.
That's two more. And then Kyle Pitts, yes. Yeah. I'm trying to. Am I missing anybody? Is Devante Smith a top 10 player?
I don't. Here's the thing. I personally don't have Devante Smith as a top 10 player. If I were to give you my top 10 player, regardless of my draft position, I think I'm going to take Justin Fields out. Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle, Kyle Pitts. Those are 5 guys. The 2 tackles, like I said, Sewell and Slater. That's 7. I would have Caleb Farley. That's 8. And then this is where like the bottom 2 guys currently I have Gregory Rousseau and Patrick Surtain as my other 2 guys in the top 10. Doesn't mean that's gonna stay that way. Doesn't mean that's what I believe completely to be how all the NFL teams are gonna say. But this is just what I'm thinking as far as like value and everything's concerned. But like Devante Smith deserves to be in there. Micah Parsons deserves to be in there. Even the 2 quarterbacks, Trey Lance and Justin Fields, I mean, just because of the premium position they play, they might deserve to be in there. So, I mean, there are guys that definitely deserve to be in top 10, but we'll see. I mean, those are the top 10 that I have at the moment.
Yeah, no, of course. And I do see there's a couple people who just joined. Please leave any comments or questions, or concerns if you'd like in the live chat box below. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, for me, like Patrick, like edge rushers are hard to gauge this year. Not necessarily edge rushers, but edge rushers plus defensive linemen. Reason for that is, I mean, there's two Hurricanes that are coming into this draft. And that is Gregory Rousseau, and that is fucking what's his name? Hold on. But he's probably I think he's more of an edge rusher. Hold on. Who I really like a lot. You have Christian Barmore, right? Defensive lineman, DT. Yeah. Like where is he gonna where is he gonna fall in this entire thing? Like where in the conversation does he come in? And like the whole 4.3 for Jason Away, dude, like that is insane for an edge rusher. Like I understand our conversations, but that like he was one of my personal favorites, and for an edge rusher to run a 4.3 is absolutely insane. That is like, that is kind of what you want. Like that is what you want on from an edge rusher. Edge rusher who just happens to be really good. Is he top end talent? Is he JJ Watt? No, he's not JJ Watt. No. Is he Chase Young? No, he's not Chase Young, but he is pretty good,
Right. I mean, he's as an edge rusher. I mean, Jason Away, I think he's my second rank right now. Next to Gregory Rousseau. But that's a crazy thing about this draft is that he might fall to the second round just because of how everything's laid out. Especially with like all these quarterbacks and all the skill positions, like the receivers, and then there's so many receivers and there's a lot of cornerbacks, and then even tight ends are coming up here on this list. And oftentimes we don't really talk about the interior linemen until later on too, but there's a lot of guys that play guards and centers that might go in, early on too. So, I mean, it's a weird draft too. Talk about, I mean, like we're talking about our top 10 guys. I mean, they were dominated by like 3 positions, right? We talked about multiple quarterbacks, multiple receivers, multiple O-linemen. It's the same thing. If you go into the second tier guys, we're probably talking about the same things. We're talking about another set of receivers, like bunch of cornerbacks, bunch of offensive linemen. So, I mean, these 3 or 4 positions going to dominate the draft until probably the latter half of the first round. So, a lot of these guys that play different positions, like linebackers or edge rusher, I mean, or D tackles, those are a lot of the premium guys are going to be available in the second round too.
Yeah, agreed. And that's why I honestly do believe that like it's okay, if the one scenario that you have doesn't happen. It's kind of the conversation. It's kind of a conversation that seems to always happen every single year. It's like, guys, it's okay if your perfect mock doesn't happen. like there's so many other scenarios where it can go a different way and you'll still get that guy because that guy is going to be good too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
Yeah, it's like it could be Issacc Seumalo Jr. It could be J.C. Horn. It could be Sean Wade. It could be Xavion Collins. It could be Jabril Cox. It could be like it could be. Like it's like, there's so many, and some of those guys could go into the third round, dude. Like it's nuts. And speaking of guys who might drop, I want to talk to you about this because I brought this up on one of my streams actually. I want to talk about Najee Harris, one, and I also want to talk about Travis Etienne, two, because the Jets need a running back, and I want to talk about the Jets needing a running back, and and secondly, do you see a surprise team taking a Najee Harris if he falls to the second round? And a reason why I asked that is because you probably would agree with me on this. There's a pretty good chance he might fall to the second round.
Yep. It's a ever-changing landscape of NFL, dude. Running backs are not as valued, and it's the realities of it. They got short lifespan, and you can find a lot of good running backs and all over the draft. And you can, no offense, you can probably pick one off the streets, and they'll be able to perform for you. Yeah. So no, that's the thing. Like I don't know if you saw, but there was an interview with Travis Etienne. He was asked, what's your perfect scenario? And he said he wants to get drafted by the Cardinals at 16. And he mentioned the Cardinals by name, and he said the 16. The thing is, he's not going to go 16. There's no way that the Cardinals are going to spend that draft capital to take a running back at 16. I'm sure he wants to go there. Clemson guy, having D-Hop as in his same offensive room, getting to play with Kyler Murray in that offensive system. I get it. If he's available in the second round for the Cardinals, I'm sure the Cardinals will be happy to take him, depending on what they do in the free agency, because Cardinals do definitely have a lot of cap space compared to some of the teams. And then, depending on what they get in the first round, because, like the Cardinals need a running back. So do I see Etienne or Harris going there? Definitely. But it just depends. If the Cardinals are able to sign one of the receivers or cornerbacks in the market, and if they're able to take one of the guys that drop, say there's 6 guys I can see the Cardinals taking at 16. So if they get Waddle, Jamar Chase, or Devante Smith, I mean, they're going to be happy to take a running back just to give Kyler different weapons out there. Going back to the Jets, they do need a running back. I think there are a couple teams that can use a running back, and Najee Harris and then Travis Etienne are probably the 2 best running backs that you just mentioned. But running backs are hard to gauge. I think you can see them coming off the board late in the first round, early in the second round. But I mean, I could no offense, I could honestly see these guys dropping down to the late second, even early third too.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I was just gonna say that sounds a lot like the Dalvin Cook situation. So Dalvin Cook and his mom, when they were getting ready, I don't know if she was a part of that interview, but she was involved with him in the pre-draft process.
Right.
He wanted to go to the Philadelphia Eagles. Like he loved the pre-draft, the pre-draft process with the Philadelphia Eagles and the visits, and the Eagles expressed interest in drafting him, and like he was upset that we didn't draft him. Right. Apparently we told him that we were going to take him, but but I guess he thought that we meant with the first round pick. The Vikings took Dalvin Cook a couple picks before us in the second round, and so the belief is that if he was still there, we would have taken him. I think that was the same year we actually took Sidney Jones. I think that was the same year.
It was the same year. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's no fault to the Eagles too, because I remember the Vikings trading up for him, and then Dalvin Cook was actually, I think, all across the board he was a top 15 guy available that year, but he dropped till 41. So I mean, this is the volatility of the running back market. They're just not as valued as much as all these other guys. I mean, so it sucks being a running back, but like ETN and Harris are both going to be a great running back in this game, and then the guys like Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara and all these guys that are literally a game changer for their teams, literally game changers. So it's like they might not go in the first round, but you want to find the right guy to be that guy. I mean, where was Derrick Henry drafted? Derrick Henry is arguably the best running back right now. I think he wasn't even drafted until what? I don't remember.
He was drafted in the first, wasn't he?
Was he?
I think he was.
No, he was a second rounder too. He was a second rounder. He was a 45th pick, so he went even later than Dalvin Cook. So I mean, so you can find these guys. I mean, and that's right about where you expect them to go. So I mean, I fully expect these guys to come off the board in the second round. To what teams, I don't know. And if I had my guess, it'll be the two teams that you mentioned. I think the Jets will take one, and then I think the Cardinals will take one. But I know the Cardinals are interested in ETN. I know, having the Clemson tie. I know D Hop wants him over there too. And then you know what D Hop did. D Hop lobbied for JJ Watt. He got him. That's why I'm pretty confident. Will Fuller is going to get a good look at with the Cardinals too, just because of his connection with D Hop and JJ Watt. I mean, I foresee if ETN is available and if the Cardinals filled all the other positions in free agency and draft so far to that point, and if he's available at the second round, I'm sure he goes there. As far as any other teams concerned, I'm sure there's a couple of teams, but it's a little bit too early. You kind of just have to see it play out. But that's the exciting part, man. Once the free agency starts soon, draft is about a month away, so we're going to get a little bit more clear picture as a free agency and some of these guys come off the board. So.
Yeah, no. I know, and I see that. I mean, that's a good. That's kind of where I was going with that is like, second round, Travis Etienne, be perfect. I did want to say this though, is that Dalvin Cook. I don't want to compare Najee Harris or Travis Etienne to Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry. While their running styles are supposed to be similar.
Yeah, it's not fair to compare it to those guys. Yeah,
those guys looked like studs coming out of college. Like Dalvin Cook looked like he was going to be fucking legit. Derrick Henry was running over people, and it took him a while, right?
Yeah.
Like it took him a while to start clicking. He was drafted with the same year Zeke was drafted, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, and I thought he was. I thought he was like 31. I thought he was picked 31.
No, he was. I just checked. He was in second round, 46, 45, 46, I think.
Oh, okay. But like, still, like, it took him a while, and he fucking worked his ass off. But like, yeah, those dudes are fucking Anyway, moving on.
The thing is that like one thing with the guys that we just talked about. I mean, Harris is a little bit more closer to the guys like like Derrick Henry or
he's 6'2", right?
Yeah, he's 6'2". So I mean, he's definitely like that. ETN is definitely closer to Dalvin Cook with his size. I think they're both 5'10". So I mean, I don't foresee them. I mean, it's bad to expect these out of the same guys to go and play like Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry right away, be the best rusher out there. But I mean, they definitely got the potential to. I mean, and then like any team would love to have Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry on their squad. So I mean, it's possible. So I mean, like whoever's getting them in the second round is going to get a bargain. But that's a weird thing. You know that these guys are going to turn out and be a solid force in your offense, but no one's going to want to spend their first round capital on it. That's a weird part about this position, you know?
Yeah, and there's other running backs that I want to talk about as we get closer to the draft, like
Sure.
Kenneth Gaineswood out of Memphis. He's kind of got he's got the receiving ability and shit like that.
Sure.
Because one for the Eagles and two because on a lot of mocks he's ranked as number 3, and some he's not, obviously, but some he is. But and we can talk about that later in the weekend and probably during the weekend. But one of the things I wanted to touch on real quick before we wrap it up for today is Zach Gertz. Just real quick, Zach Gertz seems like he's going to get moved. The Cardinals do need a tight end. I want to just because the Cardinals do need a tight end. It's one of your favorite teams. Let me know, what do you think about that, and what do you think of the Zach Ertz situation overall? It seems like it's going to happen soon. Give me your thoughts.
Zach Ertz has to get out of there. it's no question about it. It's time for him to move on. He's done some good things for the Eagles, but I think mutually, I think they both agree that it's time for them to move on. And Cardinals definitely do need a tight end. I think they only have Max Williams, who is known for his blocking ability. But he does come with a lot of injury concern, and then the Cardinals could save about $4 million by cutting him too. So in that case, they're literally going to have nobody on their contract, because their other tight end that they primarily used was Dan Arnold, who was a cut from a Saints, and they came over and became Kyler's one of his favorite targets. But he's more built like a receiver rather than a tight end. So that's a position they definitely would like to improve on. Giving Kyler Murray another weapon at tight end position is going to definitely help. Do I expect them to go out there and sign Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith? Probably not. Just because I think they have other positional needs. I think they're going to spend their money on wide receivers or, center. I know the Cardinals were looking deeply into Corey Linley from the Packers too. So that's going to take up a lot of their salary cap. So Zach Ertz is going to be definitely a look, depending on what it's going to cost them to bring him over. They do have other options like Jared Cook, Tyler Eifert, Kyle Rudolph. That's all available. So I think that's one thing that's going to, I don't want to say against Zach Ertz as far as his value is concerned. Not only his drop off in his production for the Eagles recently, but they do have other options, the teams that are looking for tight ends. Like the names that I mentioned, I think Ertz is pretty comparable to Jared Cook or Kyle Rudolph's out there right now as far as the values are concerned. So depending on what those guys get, and depending on what it costs them to get him, I think Zach Ertz is definitely worth a look. I think Zach Ertz, besides Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, probably has the most potential to put out the production for me. And then I would love for the Cardinals to go get Zach Ertz, but I don't know. I don't know what the Eagles are looking for as far as the compensation is concerned. I don't know if that's ever been leaked or anything like that.
Yeah, it has, but I actually did a stream about Kyle Rudolph and how that links to Zach Ertz just the other day. So this is kind of how I look at it, is like, obviously, as we know, Kyle Rudolph was released like a week and a half ago. Something around those lines, right? 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Right.
Does that bring Zach Ertz's trade value down was the question. And Kyle Rudolph is a little bit longer in the tooth, and Zach Ertz, it seems to me like he's been doing it a little bit more consistently over the last 5-6 years. Kyle, that's not to take anything away from Kyle Rudolph, but Zach Ertz has been a consistent target since he's come into the league. Jared Cook plays into that same argument, because Jared Cook has been inconsistent. Once he went to competitive teams, and playoff competitors, like that's when he started to do well. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but like when he went to the Saints is when he started to do well. And then who was he? Where was he? Where was he after that? Where was he before that? I don't remember. Wasn't he on the Titans for a while? He was absolutely horrible with the Titans. Patrick, are you with me?
I am.
Okay, good. So like, does that decrease his value? I don't think so. I don't think it is. I think the Eagle, I mean, because of that fact, look, Zach Ertz didn't have a bad season. I mean, he had the first 4 weeks weren't good.
He had a relatively bad season compared to what his normal production was. I think that's what.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, and I'm gonna get there. But like he came back from injury and then started to play, and then started to play decent.
Right.
But yes, comparatively to the 80 reception, like 70 to 80 reception, like 800, 900 yards, Zach Ertz, yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good season. But like, and he does usually average that, but like it was one bad season under a dysfunctional cloud of a franchise who was trying to get rid of him. Like they were trying to find ways for Doug Peterson, and you can't, or for him to like, for Dallas Goedert to get on the field more, and like it's hard because it is hard to gauge, and the reason being is like the offense just absolutely fucking sucked all the way around. Carson Wentz sucked. Everything just sucked. And so was it all Zach Ertz's fault? No, I don't think so. Because when Jalen Hurts came in, Zach Ertz started to do okay again. So like, do I think he's worth? I think the Eagles started it off at a third round pick, and I don't think they're going to get a third round pick. I think they can get. I think if a team is willing, I think that they can possibly get a late fourth, maybe an early fifth. But like, and I think that it doesn't help with the fact that Jonnu Smith is in free agency. I don't think it helps that Hunter Henry is in free agency. And you say that the Cardinals won't look at those guys. Why not, man?
I'm not saying that they're not going to look at him. I think the Cardinals are going to utilize their draft capital. I mean, not draft capital, their cap space into other position. Like the Cardinals do need a receiver, as you all know. So I think that's where they're going to primarily spend their money on is like, they're going to get one of those guys out there. Curtis Samuel, and then, Will Fuller makes a lot of sense. And then Cardinals it's very widely known thing that Cardinals are going all in, not just with the JJ Watt signing, but they have 2 years left on Kyler's rookie contract, and then Steve Keim's going to go all in. He knows that there's only like a few years within the rookie contract that you got to take advantage of, and then I think the Cardinals are doing that. And JJ Watt's the first step of it, and I think when it comes to like they're going to get the second receiver, like I said, Cardinals are. There's a huge amount of chatter that Cardinals are going to sign Corey Linsley out of the Green Bay Packers. Like I said, he was bona fide all-pro center, and he's going to take up a huge chunk of money if they were to get him. But it's going to be a huge get for them to have a guy like that under center for Kyler Murray. And then their other positional needs a cornerback. Patrick Peterson walked. They just cut Robert Alford. And they only got Byron Murphy on their contract. So, I mean, they definitely need help with that position. Cardinals were in rumors still 2 days ago they wanted to be involved in Stephen Gilmore trade talks, and Marshawn Lattimore with the Saints too. So I mean the Cardinals were looking at bigger name guys out there for those positions. So I think if one position they can kind of forego is a tight end, I don't think they want to spend all that money on Hunter Henry or guys like Jonnu Smith, in my opinion, like the top dollar guys. But it depends. It depends. I mean, who knows if Cardinals don't get Linsley, if Cardinals are able to sign like a guy like Curtis Samuel for cheap or Marvin Jones for cheap. I mean, they would have money to go get Hunter Henry, and that'll be a huge get for him.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like Hunter Henry is going to demand like Darren Waller money. No. So, right. Did we lose you?
No, he's gonna demand a decent chunk of change though. So I mean,
10, yeah, 8 to 10 probably, sure. But like not so I mean like Hunter Henry's yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I mean, I mean, like, I mean, either one of those guys. I feel like my only thought was like I know that you were talking about how Kyler was like mainly going to his running backs and his tight ends more so like this past season, towards the end there, wasn't he?
He was, and I think a lot has to do with his production that he was getting out of his secondary receivers. I mean, like DeAndre Hopkins is another animal. I mean, the amount of production that he was able to put out there while getting double, triple teamed was insane. I mean, you saw the Hail Murray pass too. So Larry Fitzgerald is a
world saw that.
Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald is a shell of himself, and Christian Kirk just hasn't produced like he should. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely do need that secondary option. So, I mean, for Kyler, especially after he got hurt and he couldn't really run around with his legs, I mean, it was easier for him to dump off the pass to his tight ends or like back like Kenyon Drake or Chase Edmonds, and which in turn, like we were talking about with ETN, I mean, Kenyon Drake is also a free agent, so and I don't expect him back. So I mean, the Cardinals definitely do have a lot of position to fill.
Yeah.
And like if I were to put in like the positional needs, I think the tight end would be the fourth most important. I think the quarterback spot is definitely number one, just because they have nobody. Center position, I think. I mean, they do have two younger guys, Mason Cole and Lamont Gaillard, but they're unproven. So I mean, that's definitely a position of need. And then the receiver. So tight end comes next, but like I said, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it all plays out. Cardinals are one of those most intriguing teams for me, not just because I follow them closely and we live in Arizona, but
Right.
they actually have money to spend. The other team that I'm looking closely at is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, dude,
74, right? They have 74
Dude, $74 million. Trevor Lawrence is coming in. You got that shiny new coach, shiny new quarterback, with all that money to spend. That's going to be exciting.
And they just committed to, apparently they're committed to their running back, so they're not going to yeah.
We'll see. I mean, they say a lot of stuff. So, and then
maybe Galladay is a good option for
maybe.
Arizona,
Maybe. I mean, they still have Chark. I mean, Chark definitely showed some potential. I mean, he definitely did have like a drop off last season, but I mean, he's still a good weapon for him. But it's definitely not a number one guy. So I mean, they do need that. And Shenault Jr. I mean, he did show some potential. So we'll see. I mean, they don't have a tight end either. Tyler Eifert's a free agent. I
meant Arizona. Maybe Galladay's a good number 2.
Oh, Arizona. Yeah. Galladay would be a great number 2. So,
you're like yes.
Yeah. Hey man, I mean, as a Cardinal fan, I'm like bringing anybody. Bring in Odell Beckham Jr. Man,
got tagged.
Huh?
Allen Robinson got tagged.
Yeah. I'm like, did he really?
I think he did.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, he's going to stay with the Bears. We knew that. But there was what Brendan Marshall said on ESPN the other day that he expects Odell Beckham Jr. to go to the Cardinals, and I'm like, hell yeah, bring him over. Like, why not? You just need a weapon at this point.
No.
I don't expect it, but I mean, like, I'd be okay getting Odell Beckham Jr. over, but no, I mean, I expect Will Fuller. That's who I expect. I mean, second guy that I want is Curtis Samuel, just because Cliff Kingsbury likes to play these fancy plays that never work. So you might as well just get a guy that can actually do it. Like Samuel's got that speed and all that stuff. So he's the other guy that I'm looking at for Cardinals, but we'll see.
Well, the thing is that I say no. I say no to Odell because I don't want him to ruin Kyler's mechanics. He ruined every quarterback's mechanics because he's so off book. He's so off book.
Like Baker.
Like Baker, Eli for a year. And that should have happened. It was Eli. I kind of did I did this take on it if because the Browns apparently rumored to show interest in Derek Barnett. And so I did this take on Odell, and I was like, I worry about Odell coming into this locker room, but I do have so much faith in Jalen Hurts' leadership that I think he would have that piece of it under control. The on-field stuff, I don't know, but I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Like, I don't want him to ruin. And then then he'll cry about it. Like, no.
Yeah, I get it, bro.
Yeah, but like, yeah. But speaking of the Jags, like, I mean, they got some. They Laviska Shenault, like, that was Kobe's actually number one. That was Kobe's number one wide receiver in the draft last year. Did you know that?
No.
He wanted the Eagles to take. Yeah, he wanted the Eagles to take Laviska Shenault.
Number one?
Yeah. Yep.
Why? I mean, nothing against him. He's a good, talented receiver, but I mean, you know how many good receivers came out of last year.
I do, but look at what Kobe thought of Laviska Shenault.
I'll have to read up on it, dude. That's ridiculous in my opinion. I mean, you're saying he's better than like Jerry Jeudy's and like CeeDee Lambs and Justin Jefferson's. You know, I mean, that's crazy.
Well, he wanted the Eagles to take Laviska Shenault. So,
Eagles. Where did the Eagles draft last year?
18, I think, right?
18? No, 18 was a Dolphin. So I think the Eagles were like in the 20s, weren't they?
No, we were like 19.
No, you were 21 because Jefferson went 22. You guys took Rager right before, so.
Oh yeah. You're right.
What a pick, dude. What a pick,
dude. Oh yeah. So Jason Avant. It was Jason Avant and Quentin Mickle, and yeah, they talked about that too. I didn't even finish watching that. They talked about all the wide receivers in this, and they like Jason Avant. I absolutely love Jason Avant because he's the nicest guy. He's like the nicest guy, but he's like, but in his head, he's like, man, that was fucking stupid.
Yeah, I was like, it's funny because like when you guys took Rager, I was like, damn, you know, like you got Justin Jefferson, like, you got Brandon Ayuk, you know, like you got like.
I would rather have Brandon Ayuk, and I wasn't even that excited about him. I wasn't even that excited about him, and I would have had.
Like, yeah, and then there's like, I was like, what just happened? You know, like I was like, insane. Yeah, but I mean, it happens. It happened already. Hopefully they don't make that mistake this year. I mean, you guys.
They need to take Kyle Pitts and they need to take Kadarius. Like that's what I mean when my personal mock has changed. Like I want Rashad Bateman or I want Kadarius Toney at 37. Get Jalen Hurts playmakers. If you're gonna commit to them, get them playmakers. Get Kyle Pitts, get Rashad Bateman, or get Kadarius Toney because those dudes are studs. Have you seen those dudes?
Yeah. If that's the thing, if Kyle Pitts drops to 6, then you take him. You take him.
It's that simple. Yeah, it's like it's not hard. It's either Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts. But here's the reality: is like the Dolphins could take Jamar Chase.
Yep.
And the Bengals could take Kyle Pitts.
I think Falcons and Bengals could take Kyle Pitts. So it's at that point you have some decisions to make. I mean, you can trade back. That means Justin Fields is still going to be available. I mean, and some team might jump up there. To grab him. I mean, at that point, the Eagles could also go quarterback route. I mean, Caleb Farley is available. I mean, like you got Jalen Waddle still available. I mean, you got some guys that you can take, and that means Penei Sewell could be available too. You know, so I mean, this is going back to what you said. You have to have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D to E to F to J, you know.
You go through the entire, You go through the entire fucking A to Z, and then you go and you learn the Greek alphabet, and then you go and you learn the fucking Norse alphabet, and then you go and you learn the fucking alphabet from the Hebrew, library. Yeah. You learn all the fucking alphabets. You come up with all the fucking different scenarios, and then you count them all up, and then you have your game plan.
Yeah, exactly. And then you never know. You learn all the alphabets in the world, and then if your alphabet tells you that you're your next best pick at the second round at 37 is Asante Samuel, you take him. And if you don't, I mean, he's going to be a good pick for you guys. I mean, you have to have all these different scenarios lined up, you know? And then who knows? I mean, if like the guy like Zaven Collins drops to fucking 37, you take him. You take him. Yeah.
Like, I don't like, look, I don't, here's the thing. If you don't feel good about the guys that are on the board at 6, like, you know that there's going to be some guys that are going to be considered reaches, but they're going to be guys that are going to be good.
Right.
Like Kwity Paye. Like, so I don't care. I don't care what you do. I don't care if it's a reach. Just take the guy that's going to be good, that's worth taking at 15. But like, he's going to be like, that's the thing is like, if you do it that way, you can't fuck up. And that's not just about the Eagles. That's for everybody. Like, look to the fucking Buccaneers. If Zavon Collins is available at 32, take Zavon Collins. Yeah. If you're unsure, take Zavon Collins. Don't take Najee Harris at 32 if you're not going to re-sign Leonard Fournette, which I think they already did. So
here's the thing too. If and you got to play the board. I mean, if Eagles are sitting at 6 and they really want to, they were like zeroed in on Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase, and those two guys are gone. And then they're not sold on Penei Sewell, and they don't want to take Caleb Farley. And if they're set on receiver, 6 is way too early to get Jalen Waddle, in my opinion. And if a team like 49ers call and they're like, hey, I see that Justin Fields is still available, I'll give you 12 and I'll give you an extra asset in the third round or something. Can I move up? You definitely take that, because then you can still get your guy at 12 and still get an extra pick in the third round, you know? So you still have to play the board, and you still have to play how everything's going to work. But the benefit for the Eagles is that there are going to be teams that want these top-end quarterbacks and top-end tackles that's going to want to move up to 6 to take them. If for some reason Penei Sewell drops to 6, and if the Eagles are not sold on them, there are going to be teams that's going to be like, okay, here, take my extra third round pick, take my next year's second round pick, let me have that pick, you know, and Eagles can still take their guy in the later picks, you know?
Yeah. No, I know. Exactly. And it's not like, dude, like the playmakers don't end with the first round. Like the wide receiver, like they don't end within the first round. Like I mentioned the tight end out of Boston College, Hunter Long. I mentioned him before between you and I, and like, he's not a bad guy. He's gonna be good. I feel I don't know if he's gonna be good, but he's a decent pick in the 3rd to 5th round. Like he is. He's going to be.
Yeah.
And then for wide receivers, like you got Tylan Wallace out of fucking like University of Oklahoma, who Jalen Hurts is gonna be familiar with. You've got like Tutu Atwell. Like there's some playmaking, and he might be, a little bit raw, but he's got some fucking insane speed that you can probably work with, So like those guys in the later rounds too, it's like, that's what I start looking for, especially with the guys in the later rounds. Like I start looking for like, okay, what do I have to work with? What can I use and add to the arsenal? It's like, okay, fucking this guy's got speed. Okay, Quez Watkins is fast. Tutu Atwell is fast. Okay, Tyreek Hill is fast. How are we going to utilize that guy?
Exactly like what you said, though. That's a thing, though. You do that in the later rounds, though. You look for those potential and what can you work with? What can we develop in our system? But you, especially the Eagles right now, you just can't miss your top 3 picks, in my opinion. Yeah, so like the top 3 picks, you have to do that.
Yeah, if they miss at all, and it's not top 3, it's top 4 because they have 2 third rounders now. Thank you to the Colts.
Right.
Thank you, Carson Wentz. If they miss at all with those first 4, then I'm gonna say it right now. It's a failure. It is a failure. They need to hit on all 4. But I want to talk about this because I don't think defender is worth mentioning in the first round. Jeffrey Lurie did say, as a part of committing to Jalen Hurts, that we want to build around him in this offseason. So I'm pretty sure that means we're going to get him everything that he needs to succeed.
Right.
within this first year. So I assume that means playmakers. I assume that means like making sure that he's protected. I assume this, that, and the other thing. So, Patrick, as you know, like blue chip players are usually found in the first round. So blue chip, so anytime that the owner says we're going to make sure our quarterback gets playmakers, usually that means blue chip players. So I would think that wide receiver, right, in the first round, offensive tackle in the first round, maybe. What do you think?
What with as far as who's concerned?
The Eagles.
Who do I think that they'll take, or who I think they should take?
Well, no, I'm just saying that I don't think that that cornerback is even an option for them now. With what Jeff Lurie said, and like I don't think it's even worth talking about a defender being an option for them at 6. I think
this is what we talked about the last time we spoke. Eagles have to bring some excitement to their fan base again, and then like you said, they do have to give Jalen Hurts some weapons. I think Kyle Pitts is your dream scenario. I know it's not the most sexy pick in the world, but I
love Kyle Pitts.
No, not Kyle Pitts. I'm sorry. Kyle Pitts would be that sexy pick, or Jamar Chase would be, but the non-sexy pick for me would be on offensive linemen. Like if Sewell or Slater is available. I know it's not the the most exciting pick in the world, but that's where it starts. When you have a franchise quarterback, you gotta keep him up, right? So if those guys are available, you definitely take them. I
like Slater or Sewell. No, I guess my point is like I guess we can narrow the focus a little bit. So like, so it's gonna be either one of those. It's gonna be either one of those things. Like it's either gonna be boom, 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 not bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, no, I think the Eagles picks are gonna go down to. Realistically, I think I'm looking at 4 guys right now, like you said, 5 actually. Kyle Pitts, the 2 offensive linemen, and then I think there's a chance for the Eagles. If Jamar Chase is there, they'll take him. But if not, I think they even have a chance to take Jalen Waddle there. But yeah, you do have to give him some weapons. So
speaking of Jalen Waddle and 5'10", 185 receivers, Mr. Brown is going to be a free agent.
Mr. Brown is a free agent,
but
he's a little bit older. So we'll see.
Yeah, but he's been a little bit older for the last few years now.
He's got some burners, man. He did some good stuff recently. So
he still has the technique.
He does, yeah.
And obviously by Mr. Brown, I mean Antonio Brown. As you know, I saw put it on record. Do you think that he's cured? In other words?
No, but he's gonna go back to the Bucs. He only works if Brady's there. I think Brady's the one that's keeping him in check. So I like to see a little bit more, but I was impressed with what he was able to put out last year. But we'll see, man. I'm happy he came back. He got that ring, and then we'll see how it goes.
I kind of want to do, maybe not a full segment, but I do kind of want to do something about the culture that kind of brews in Pittsburgh, because like I wonder if that had anything to do with it, because I know Juju started to act up a little bit, and
Juju acted up a lot, actually.
Yeah, Juju wasn't that way coming out of college, and neither was Antonio Brown. And this shit started when Mike Tomlin took over as head coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I have nothing against Mike Tomlin. He's a good coach, but
right.
I've seen him act up before, and he's this coach that he's a player's coach, one, and he's a good coach, but shit has gotten out of hand, it seems.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to blame anything on the culture or the coach. I mean, that's the thing. Mike Tomlin, he's one of my favorite coaches. He's just such a respectable guy, and I know he commands respect from everyone in this league. So, and then the things that he's been able to do in the Steelers organization has been remarkable. So I don't want to necessarily talk bad about him without knowing a whole lot into it,
Yeah.
But we'll see, man. Nick, I'm not sure. This is one thing that I'll probably have to look into a little bit more. But
Is it? I mean, well, okay. So yeah. So before, let me finish what I'm saying, because yes, he is a great head coach. And but I do want to say this: he did take over a successful franchise already. He did take over a franchise quarterback that was drafted by the former regime, and that was head coach Dick LeBeau, I believe, right? And or was that their defensive coordinator? No, it was fucking Dick LeBeau was their defensive coordinator during the who's the head coach? Who's the head coach of the Steelers when they drafted Big Ben?
Bill Cowher.
Bill Cowher. There we go. And so this shit didn't happen then. And Big Ben has been through it all. So like I'm sure he has a lot of credit for this franchise continuing to succeed year in and year out. He deserves a lot of it. Obviously it's Big Ben.
Yeah,
and so that's why I prefaced this conversation the way I did, and I think that we should come back to this because I am interested in what happened to Antonio Brown. I remember who he was before what happened, and I also know who Juju was before the last couple of years, and it's odd to me, bro. Like I'm just saying, it is odd.
Normally I agree with you, but this is one thing I might disagree with you here. Steelers are known for their culture, and it's not that way. Steelers are known for their culture where they can withstand that. And it started with Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin both are one of the most respected coaches in the league. And yeah, Mike Tomlin did take over the Bill Cowher Steelers, who were already good and had that culture in place. But Mike Tomlin, I think, only built that. He is players coach, like you said, but he's a strong leader. He's never had a losing record as a head coach, and then he couldn't have done that without the proper culture in place. Players like Big Ben and T.J. Watt and what's his name, James Harrison, they've all came talked about how important the culture was in succeeding. And then if you really go back, you don't even have to go back that much. You'll see reports from Bleacher Report or NFL.com from Jim Trotter. You'll see a lot of articles on Pittsburgh Steelers culture. And then even when they're going on the 8-0 run, a lot of them, like even NFL Spin Zone, they were all highlighting how important the culture was in their succession. So I think the Steelers actually have one of the better cultures out there. Yeah, in my personal opinion, I mean, they have history of winning. They're probably one of the better run franchises in the history of NFL. And
I agree. No,
Yeah.
yes. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I do agree with you on that, and I agree with you on everything regarding Mike Tomlin. I am curious as to how it's gotten out of hand for some players.
Yes. To finish off real quick, though, I mean, Juju Schuster-Smith, I think it's just an immaturity thing. I mean, most of his things were his main thing was he was just like dancing. He was more focused on his TikTok dances and stuff like that. I mean, I think that goes back to his, you can blame it on his immaturity. I mean, I think the guys really put him in his place really quickly. And he did say that he's learned from it. He's not going to do it. And I believe it. I think all in all, he's a good guy and a good professional. Antonio Brown, I think it leads off just a football field. I mean, with everything that he's done, I mean, you saw he's caused drama within the Steelers organization, but let's look at everything that he's done outside of it. You know, he was tossing furniture out of his 14th floor apartment and he like almost hit like a kid below. I mean, that's one thing. His former trainer like sued him for sexual assault that was happening years before that, and then like he had another sexual misconduct issue that he had another sexual misconduct issue that happened 4 years before that. He domestic violence issues. He's had a lot of different like battery, burglary. He stole a vehicle he has history of this, and he has history of this happening years before, especially like the sexual issues that came in. I mean, that I think the first reported one was in 2014. So it's been happening for a while, and I think it's more of a highlight his character rather than his organization. I think Brown, all the talent in the world, and I think he's gonna be. Hopefully, he's turned the chapter on all that, but I think a lot has to do with himself as a character. I mean, he's an interesting guy. If you ever like listen to him talk in an interview recently, he's a really interesting guy. So I think he's just wired differently. Kind of like, I mean, we give Kyrie Irving, the point guard for the Brooklyn Nets in basketball, like all the crap in the world because he walks around with walking stick. He like believes the earth is flat and stuff like that. But I mean, he's a great player. And he's a really good human being. So Antonio Brown's made a lot of bad decisions, but I think I don't think it's necessarily like the Steelers' issues, but I hope that he's able to like turn that around. And then Larry Foote, Steelers legend, he's a coach with Bruce Arians over in he said the culture in Tampa Bay and Tom Brady helped turnarounds too. So I mean, he fit in better because the thing with Bruce Arians is he's a little bit more rah-rah, but he's like a Uncle Bruce, like Mike Tomlin is more respectable coach, but he demands hard work out of him. Arians, but like treats you like a little cousin and go gets a beer after with you kind of thing. So maybe that's the culture that he needed. So who knows? I'm glad that it worked out for him, but I don't necessarily think it's like the Steelers issue per se.
Yeah. So my point, I guess, was you think that you think that he would only be able to succeed with Tom right now?
I like to say no. At this point, I don't trust him to replicate his success without Tom.
Okay. Well, that was the point.
Yeah, sorry, it was like long-winded talk, but yeah, I mean, I hope he succeeds. I hope he succeeds wherever he goes.
No, it's a good topic, and honestly, look, if it can add, I want to see Tom Brady play until his feet fall off. Honestly, if he can add years to Tom, then good. Get Tom the playmakers that Bill never gave him. That's what I want. That's what I want.
I mean, and Tom's got all the playmakers right now, so
he's got all of them.
Tom's got a great set of players.
I know it's scary. It's really fucking scary.
Stupid deal talent. I mean, Cowboys, and I'm like, it's stupid how many weapons they have, but same thing with the
Evans, Leonard Fournette, Antonio Brown, like fucking Goodwin, they re-signed.
Yeah, if they get Godwin back, if they get Ronald Jones back, if they get if they get Gronk back, I mean, who knows, man? They got Scotty Miller, who's done a lot of good things for him.
Gronk resigned, didn't he? I think he resigned. I think Gronk did.
So he's still a free agent, but I think they're in talks to sign.
Oh. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Hopefully we can get some more talks in later this weekend, but I will definitely be back and I'll make sure that I keep everybody updated on that. But this is DB Talking now, DB Talking Birds, DB Talking Philadelphia Eagles, live with Patrick J. Thank you, all of you, for joining and contributing to the conversation. King, thank you so much, man. Good to see you. Happy Wednesday. Patrick, happy Wednesday, my man. Thanks. Good to have you back. Yeah, it's good to have you back, bro. You have no idea. It was like separation anxiety, really. Like it was nuts. It was
Thanks.
nuts. But yeah, absolutely. And then guys, if you want to go ahead and show your love and support, please go to streamlabs.com/dbtalkingnow/tip. And then also, if you want to go ahead and visit the merch store, go to streamlabs.com/dbtalkingnow/merch and go ahead and check out some of the cool items that we have on there. But I do appreciate everybody. So stay safe, stay healthy, one love, and go Birds, baby.